Scott Weatherall.
Sean.
Yeah. So you started working here in 1972.
No, I didn't start working here
Ah.
in 72. I was a camper here in 1972
Yeah.
until 82.
Yeah.
And then I got on staff in 83, 84, and 85.
All right.
So 3 years, I was CIT, counselor, and then AAA.
Yeah. So you were there in the early days. Who was your first counselor?
My first counselor was Trevor Smith.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Do people say that I look like?
you look very similar
Trevor
to Trevor, but from a distance.
Yeah.
let's correct
Yeah.
that.
A younger
It's
Trevor Smith.
Believe me, Sean, when people mistake you for Trevor, it's actually a huge compliment because Trevor was such an amazing guy and such an amazing camper and such an amazing person all the way around. So it's meant as a full compliment.
That wasp is gonna fly.
And
in my
Sean,
mouth
I
like
know
Doug Ford.
you have basically built a legend here at camp as well. So good for you,
That's
man.
just basically self-promotion.
Self-promotion is what camp's all about, but it's also about campers and fun and just enjoying your time here and being respectful of one another and having fun. And
Yeah. Now, when you were a camper in 72, were you aware like that this was like the second year that camp existed, or did it just feel like?
well, it was the second year, and I was in a small cabin group. There was 6 people, and back then, campers were kind of they didn't fill up the camps back then. It was very.
How many campers do you think would have been here?
I probably 70 or 75 the first year was kind of the norm, and 72. Well, there was about 70 campers though in the first 72. I'm just hearing off screen, people. Come here. I'm just hearing off screen that from Dave Rowan, one of the originals, that there was 72 campers in that first year at camp. I was the second year of camp in 72, and Dave was here then.
This guy came to the trip hut and learned how to light fires and shoot bows. We taught this guy how to shoot bows and arrows.
Yes, it was crazy.
It was nuts.
It was not good. It was not good. It was not good.
Enjoy, guys.
All right. Maybe we'll get you next.
Thanks, Dave. Dave was one of the legends of the trip hut. There were many. There was Trevor Smith, who was a trip hut guy. There was Keith Anderson, who was a trip hut guy. There was.
Were you a trip hut guy?
I was a trip hut guy in '85, just for 1 year, and then I had to go get a job for school, for university. So that was the unfortunate thing.
Talk about the activities that went on at the trip hut.
Trip hut was all about learning about nature and going up on the ridge and getting acclimatized was our word of the day back then. With nature.
Steve, what is that guy's name? He wrote Acclimatizing.
Yes.
Acclimatization.
Acclimatization. Yeah, he wrote a book and stuff, and we kind of followed that whole methodology of hugging a tree and just getting in with nature, and we'd jump in the swamp and get all dirty and go down to Leech Dock, it was called back then. I don't know what it's called now, but and just spend time, learning about nature and doing stuff. And then we'd learn how to light fires and do some archery and other things. And there was horses back then at Trip Hut, and Megan, who's here, was one of the horse ladies who I worked with. And there was some other ones. There was Kay and a few other ones who did horses. That's now the rope obstacle course, but there was so many great things that we did. The ridge was still very young in the 80s, and Mike Bruce and Pete Bruce and myself and a few others, we cut trails, a lot of the trails that are now still in existence up on the ridge, and that's great because it just lets you get into nature and see all the great stuff that's going on up there and everything else. We built a tree fort up there. I don't know if it's still there. I think that the ropes course has probably replaced it, but
log cabin's still there.
The log cabin's still there. That was built quite a few years ago. So there's a lot of cool stuff up there. Yeah.
Like there's more than twice as much property on the ridge as in the camp proper here.
Wow. Yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And we got to do day trips too, and of course the camp would always do 1 day trip where even the Harpy would go to like Treasure Island or things like that. And then the Falahides, the oldest boys and oldest girls, would go for a 3 day trip, usually into Algonquin Park or the Big East River or places like that. you know, as Trip Hut, we get to, you know, take them out and sort of guide them and show them the way and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
We had a lot of fun. There wasn't a lot of naked gunnel bobbing, but we did some fun things.
All right. Who'd you look up to on stuff here?
Well, Mike Bruce was, you know, he was a demigod because he could play guitar.
Yeah.
And then there was Ian Folds, who I worked with the Trip Hut at, and these were staff members who had been around for a number of years and had done a lot of really great things. And you know, to walk in their footsteps was kind of cool. And you know, if I can pass anything on to the new staff, it's that you know, just enjoy the people you're working with, because everybody has something to offer, everybody has something to provide, and sometimes it's a sense of humor, sometimes it's a song, sometimes it's just the quiet moments spent watching a sunset. It's kind of all those things. And you know, respecting the campers and doing some fun things around the campfire, that's always what camp's always been about. And
Scott, I have some sort of memory that you had a child here at some point.
I had a daughter who also worked here. Oh God, don't ask me what years. It was probably in the 90s, early 90s, 92, 93, 94 maybe. Her name was Brittany Weatherall. And she worked here for 2 years. She was a counselor, and then she was a floater for 1 year. And she did a lot of stuff around the camp as well, and she enjoyed it thoroughly. One of the funny stories was we came for the 35th reunion, and she was, I think, 8 or 9 at the time, and she said, "Oh, I wish I could have gone to that camp." And then the next year she was diagnosed as diabetic, and she got to come back as a camper. And I said, "Be careful what you wish for."
Yeah.
But yeah, so she is diabetic now, and she's now quite a bit older, and she lives in Winnipeg, and she's sorry she couldn't be here, but she definitely loved camp like I loved camp and everything else. So yeah.
And how do you feel just walking around this weekend?
It's a little surreal. It's a little bit of knowing what I know from the past and seeing that everything has evolved a little bit along the way, like the ropes course and just everything. Like the multi-purpose surface was new when I was here. So, you know, like now it's old and there's all this new stuff built around it and new cabins and new other things. Everything's been renamed and stuff. I think it's great. I think it's progressive the way they've moved stuff. There's some, you know, things I'd love to see from the past come back a little bit, but I think it's such as, you know, there's always room for, I'm going to call it free time of life.
Yeah.
You know, where you basically have room to just grow as an individual and enjoy just being in your surroundings. I don't think camp should ever be so regimented that you don't have time to make very close friends. You don't have time to do the things you just want to do while you're at camp. And I think that's really important. There's free time, you know, every day. There was in my day. I don't know if that still exists, but I think that's an important part of camp and an important part of just being part of camp overall. So yeah. Just enjoying friendship and being with others that enjoy camp too.
Yeah.
Sean and I didn't work together, but I feel a kinship to him because I know he's enjoyed a lot of good years here and a lot of good friendships and built a long time of just good laughs and good people, and that's what camp's all about. So,
yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for sitting down.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Sean, you're the best, dude.
All right.
Thanks, everybody. Is that okay for you?
That was great.